Thank you so much, Margaux. I welcome all of you today. Again, as Margaux said, I really was hoping to see all of you in person and welcome you to our clubs. But we are very excited to present to you today a lot about what our clubs are all about. What are city clubs about? This could be a whole new world for many of the students that are on with us today. And so we welcome you to enjoy today, and hopefully we'll see you in our clubs, if not this year, next year, or in the future. We would like to start by seeing and polling how many in the group are students. If you could just wave your hand. I'm gonna put this, make this big. How many people are students on the call today? So we have a couple. Awesome. Great. Welcome. Happy to have you. We're glad that we could welcome more students in this format. So welcome to you. How about new managers to the area? Do you have any new managers joining us? Not I can see on my screen, but maybe there are some. And then managers of the chapter of NCCMA. Got a good amount to supporting us today. Thank you so much for being here. I would first like to start out by thanking the Student Development Committee of NCCMA. I am the chair and I appreciate Margaux, she's my co-chair. And also on the call, we have Cole from Cosmos Club, Zach from Mount Vernon, and Savannah from Chevy Chase Club. So thank you all for the hard work that you've put in to everything that we're going to try to provide you this summer in one format or another. I'd also like to say a quick hello to my colleagues. I know we have Mitchell Platt, our general manager, on, as well as Sandy McDowell, our assistant general manager, and Cole Warnicki, our assistant banquet manager. So thank you all for joining as well. And I encourage, we want this to be a little bit more informal, so I encourage my colleagues to jump in on my portion, and certainly anybody else on the call, jump in with questions, and we can make this a little interactive as we go along. Margaux, we can move to the next slide. So typically this summer, we put together all types of events for our students. And obviously some of this calendar may change, but we are very hopeful that we will get at least something in face-to-face for the interns that are coming in. Luckily, we do have some this summer. The next event is going to be on Monday, June 22nd. The hope is to be at Bretton Woods and doing something interactive in regards to leadership. But if we are not able to meet in person, we will continue to do Zoom meetings with that. I was hopeful that by July 7th, we would be at the Nats ballpark, but I'm guessing that this will unfortunately need to be canceled, but we'll try to add something else in interactive, and we'll be talking to the Capitol Hill Club about that. Going forward, Tuesday, July 14th will be the NCCMA education, hopefully at Westwood Country Club, but we'll do something virtual on communications if not. So we hopefully welcome a lot of you to that. And then Monday, July 20th, will be the 3 Cs tour. So that's including Columbia Country Club, Chevy Chase Club, Congressional Country Club, and they are all very close to each other. Just as you'll see, the 3 clubs represented today are very close in area as well. And then we will finish our summer, hopefully at Mount Vernon Country Club, learning about grounds and greens and golf on Monday, July 27th. So please keep up, if you're an intern in the area, keep up with your managers. They're getting the emails on this. And we do welcome new managers, managers in training. If you have any of those during this time, we welcome all to these events. So now, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Cosmos Club and my career path and tour you through our club. And then we will have Emmett from Metropolitan Club speak, and then Margaux from Sulgrave. It's really neat. The club industry is really special because we find ourselves less competing with each other and more working together and sharing different resources. And so for those students that are maybe not as familiar with clubs, we highly encourage you at some point to intern or work at clubs. It's a really amazing feeling that we're all colleagues and partners. It's very different than a hotel or restaurant that, you know, anything down the street is, you know, they're competing with each other. We're close colleagues, friends, and we reach out all the time to help each other out. We are actually, all three of our clubs technically are walkable. And so that was what our hope was, is that we would go to each of the clubs and walk at that time in the beautiful weather, and end up being a nice day today too. But so that's really special as well. We all have different cultures, and so we're all going to talk about that. And so you'll see, again, we're not competing because we're pooling different managers with different backgrounds and interests. So that makes us really special as well. So a little bit about myself. I'm a club girl through and through after graduating from James Madison University. And I know I've got a couple of you students on the call or on the Zoom. So that's awesome. Go Dukes. Graduated with hospitality and tourism management major, and interned at 3 of the local awesome clubs in the area: Chevy Chase Club, Columbia Country Club, and Cosmos Club. When I graduated, Columbia had just put a $30 million renovation on the property and welcomed me back as an assistant manager, and that was a really neat experience. I'm involved in all the different operations, particularly a lot of my work was done in the beverage management program, overseeing the dining room and banquet functions, but helping throughout the club in any way I could. And then I went to the University Club of Washington, D.C. I love city clubs. That's really where my passion lies. I love the professionalism. And so I became their member events manager there and ran all of their events, did all the marketing for the events, and saw the event from start to finish. I then, over 4 years now, came to Cosmos Club and started as their HR coordinator. Not a lot of HR background, but you know, there's a lot of really interesting things that you can learn in a new position, and when you put yourself out there, and I encourage students to do that and push myself outside of my comfort zone and join the team in HR, learned as I went. But you know, the main factor and what we really pride ourselves as Cosmos Club is, you know, if you don't have the answer, just be kind. And so that was kind of my motto when I came in, is just start there and learn as much as I could. And I have really grown to have a passion for HR. I love working with our employees, and it's been a really amazing experience. Wow.
Delaying. There we go.
Awesome. So this is our beautiful building. Cosmos Club was founded in 1878, and it is located on Embassy Row, right off of DuPont Circle in Washington, D.C. So very historical building, and it was built in 1873, so quite some time. This is our 5th location of Cosmos Club. It has 4 floors and a basement, and we own 3 properties. 2 of them are connected and 1 is right next door. But this is our mansion, our clubhouse. Next slide. So we are a private member-owned city club, similar to the other 2 that we'll present today. We do offer breakfast, lunch, and dinner in normal times. We have 50 overnight sleeping rooms, garden, library, small fitness facility, and what we really pride ourselves on is our intellectual programming. That's really important to Cosmos Club, and we've had really fascinating speakers come in. Colin Powell spoke in my tenure at Cosmos Club, was really a highlight for me. But we really have some really neat programs and a lot of clubs within a club. So members with certain expertise get together and plan different events on everything from international affairs, finance, politics, books, author nights, etc. So we have about 3,000 members and about 150 to 160 employees during regular business times here. So we are founded by John Wesley Powell. He is really a fascinating man. He has always had a passion for geology, and so he's best known for the exploration of the Grand Canyon, and was very passionate about civil rights as well, fought on the northern side of the Civil War and lost an arm, unfortunately, and still went down the Colorado River, which has some of the most intense rapids in the United States, twice. So really fascinating man, came back to the DC area and really wanted to build a community where people with like interests and minds with sciences and arts get together and be able to have those conversations. So that's where we really started. So as I kind of talked a little bit before, we really pride ourselves on fostering community through hospitality and kindness. That's really what we're founded on. Our mission statement is also there for our team to be a diverse group of professionals consistently creating memorable and unique member and guest experience reflective of the social and intellectual atmosphere of the Cosmos Club in its refined setting. So we love to serve. We're in hospitality, just like all of us here on this call, and are very proud of that. So I'm going to take you through the club a little bit. This is our lobby, beautiful staircase. Brides and grooms love to take pictures on that staircase. This is our lobby, and we was built in 1873. This is our 5th location, as I said, and so we moved in. We bought the property in 1950 from the Townsend family, which are socialites in the DC area, and at the time, it was all about symmetry, right? When this was being built, so you see a lot of those different features throughout the club. But we have a bellman working in this area that has a tenure of 40 years as of last September. So we're very proud of that. And so that's a very special place for members to walk in and see that familiarity and the beauty of our club. Okay, so just some small pictures here of our club room where our members can relax and enjoy a cup of coffee and cookies on the top left, and then the bottom right is our gold room. These rooms are similar in size and are on both sides of the club on the wings, and again, that symmetry piece. Mrs. Townsend would welcome her guests here, kind of a waiting room since there wasn't cell phones in those days. Now the gold room is a private banquet function, and we do sell that out for all types of events. All right, so as I was talking about, we are very proud. Our membership has to have made a significant contribution to society in order to even apply, as well as to know the membership in the community. But our awards hall on the top left is all pictures of members who've won special awards, including Pulitzer Prize, the Nobel Prize, and the Medal of Freedom. So those are all members, and we also have a Cosmos Club award that we give out. So this is a really neat space for us and makes us very unique. And then on the bottom right is our formal dining room, the garden dining room. And then Margaux, move forward. Our dining rooms are kind of attached. So you can see on the top right, all of these are 1878 grill. But you can see walking through, our formal dining room is at the end of that hall there. The wine cabinets also kind of distinguish the two rooms. Our formal dining room, we take reservations. 1878 grill, we do not. We also have a grill room that is our most casual dining environment there. And so these are our dining spaces. Obviously in city clubs, it's very important to have really great food and beverage. That's definitely a highlight for the city club environment because we don't have tennis and golf and a pool and that type of thing typically. All right, this is the Lafayette room. This is definitely one of my favorite rooms, and definitely our members' favorite rooms. The wallpaper is depicting Lafayette Square with the White House straight ahead. One of our first locations was the Dolly Madison House on the left, and so that's depicting where we started after we were in John Wesley Powell's house in the beginning. And this is can be a semi-private dining space. We do some catering events there and do overflow there as well. We're really lucky because we have an east and west garden, and that's going to become very helpful in the climate we're living in today. But you can see both the east and west gardens here and how we use them for all types of events for our membership. The Taka Fountain is a piece of art really that we pride ourselves on having. There's only 2 in the world, but beautiful spaces that city clubs don't always have. So we're very grateful for that, and really provides a unique space for us to wine and dine our members. So we take it to the 2nd floor. This is our long gallery, and where we do receptions and things during weddings, or set up buffets or stations for food as when we host events. A lot of the 2nd floor is for our catering banquet space, which is typically our largest area of revenue. And pretty neat, we've had 3 different presidents, U.S. presidents, as members, and so their portraits are on the wall, and that's Wilson, Taft, and Hoover. So we're very proud of that as well. Next slide. This is definitely our pride and joy. This is our ballroom. We're in ballroom, and so we have a lot of weddings that take place in this beautiful room, but I'm also fortunate to have our employee gathering sometimes in this room, but this is definitely special. We have meetings, presentations, everything like that. The ceiling is a canvas. We like to say the most common depiction is, or that I've heard of, is Aphrodite and Poseidon's wedding day, but you know, it's funny with all the history of the club, you know, you get some piecemeal, so they're not 100% sure what it is, but depicting, but beautiful nonetheless. All of this is gold leaf. We just put a little over $2 million into restoring this beautiful room and are very proud of it. Excellent. This is our members' dining room. This is just used for catering, typically, but we do have lots of member events and things in here. The Townsend family, this is where they would eat. And then we can open the doors there and go into to a separate room, or we can keep it open. It's a Krentz room, but it's really neat because we can have 2 separate spaces or one large space that's used by one event. Another really unique thing about city clubs is a lot of them do have libraries. So this is our library. Beautiful. We have a full-time librarian as well as an archivist and an art manager. So those are things that not typical that you'll see in country clubs, but we do have all 3 of those positions, which is unique and very special to us. And then our 3rd floor has our different meeting rooms in it. This is our Hoover room. The meeting rooms are named after the presidents that I just spoke about. And so this is an area where we do buffets for all of the meetings that are up there. It's a fun wallpapered room. I did mention we have 50 overnight rooms, and this is one of our beautiful rooms. There's 12 in the mansion, and the rest are in the Hillier house. They're a little bit more modern, but we do have very historical rooms, and some of my favorites for sure in the building. Some other opportunities we have for our members to enjoy, we have a billiards or pool table in that room, and so members can go and read the paper and relax there. They can play billiards or pool, and then all the books in the back are by deceased club members. Most of our members are published, so that's a very unique component to us. And so we do have books all over the club because we do a accumulate a lot of them. Pictures of Mark Twain playing pool in our club are in this room as well. Pretty neat space. The National Geographic Society was also founded in the club, and so that's definitely a unique component to us in 1888. And so, you know, that's highlighted throughout the club as well, and we continue to have that really great relationship with them, which is unique. Down on the right corner, you'll see our small fitness center, typically used for our overnight guests. The average age of our membership is 72. So not to say that our members don't use it, they do. But again, not as big as you may have seen with the University Club or other cultures of club. There's larger fitness centers. We have a small one here, but also something that our members can enjoy. All right, Margaux, have you seen any questions come in at all?
I haven't seen any questions, but Carolyn, you reminded me that we didn't highlight when we originally sent this information out for today's webinar. We mentioned University Club was going to be on the call. Unfortunately, Brian, the assistant general manager there, they got great news that they're able to open, and they're opening their rooftop. I believe they're trying to do that for tonight. And so he's got all of his staff. He found this out, I think, at like 7 o'clock on Friday night. So he's trying to get staff back and open and train. So he said that that was going to take priority today, and he was unable to join us. So unfortunately, that was a bummer, but we're really glad to have Emmett, because typically on this tour, we haven't been able to get all the way to Metropolitan Club. So this is a really unique and special tour. I did see one question come through. Professor Samuel at Johnson Wales is asking about the club flag on the moon. Tell us about the club flag on the moon.
I'm not quite sure what he's inferring to, but if Mitchell or Sandy or Cole knows,
and the crest,
or maybe we can get the information to him when we can clarify. Okay, I'm not sure what the question is there, but we can get the answer. We'll connect.
I'm guessing it's the logo that you have, like the that's in the crest.
Oh, it's representing the arts and sciences and the social interaction of what the club is all about.
Gotcha.
Welcome Sandy or Mitchell to add anything if they'd like to that.
All right, we will go on to
Perfect.
Emmett and Metropolitan Club.
Perfect.
I'll have everybody's contact information listed on the last slide as well, if you have any further questions for Carolyn or want to reach out as well. And without further ado, Emmett.
Great. Thank you, Margaux. Caroline, thank you so much, and Kate for inviting me on here today. My name is Emmett Gallagher. I'm the Assistant General Manager at the Metropolitan Club. We are located at 17th and H, Northwest Washington, D.C. We're about a block and a half from the White House. Like Caroline said, we're all within walking distance of each other. And it's so true that we all have our differences, but yet we overlap in some members, and we are like a family of 3 or 4, including University Club. So it's great to be on this call. If you want to move to the next slide, please, Margaux.
Sure. And I'll want to let everybody else know too that I wasn't hearing the construction before, but now that
you can hear it now.
I hear it a little bit. So I just didn't know if you wanted to maybe tell everybody what's going on.
Yeah. So forgive I'm upstairs in the main dining room on the 4th floor, and we're in the midst of a $10 million rooftop project. Unlike other clubs, we don't have outdoor seating. So this project started in July. So forgive me if you hear some drilling and hammering above my head. They're actually taking the roof off the 5th floor, our mezzanine kitchen, to the skies to be able to put in a new roof for the construction. But if you want, I can move. I'll just turn my video off. I can move to another room.
No, I think it's fine. Just so everybody knew that that's what's going on, because I think it's pretty cool that you guys are doing that. Yeah,
please, call me out on the chat room and say, I can't hear you. I'll be happy to move. I want to keep this as casual as possible. So my path to the Metropolitan Club started 17 years ago, really, when I moved to America from Ireland. Unlike Caroline, I've not been in the club world. This is my first club job. I've been in the hospitality industry for 35 years, but this is my first club job, coming up in 2 years this July. So moved here in March of 2003. I did a lot of work in hotels overseas. You want to move to the next slide, please. Started in hotel and catering management when I left school in Ireland, and then I worked for independent hotel restaurants. I moved to Australia in 2000 and, when was that? 1998. I was there for 2 years, worked for the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Group, came back to Ireland, couldn't settle, and then I moved to America 17 years ago, thinking I would only be here for 18 months. I came on a J1 visa, fell in love with America, and then I said, that's it, I'm staying. So joined the Metropolitan Club in 2018, coming up in 2 years. So I'm relatively new to the club world. So like a lot of the interns and people around this call, you know, I'll tell you the reasons why I like it compared to the hotel world. So if you want to move to the next slide, Margaux, please. So I'm a people person. I love doing this, but I'd rather do it in person. So there's an open invitation to you all. If you ever find yourself in Washington, D.C. on a weekend and you want to come by the Metropolitan Club, just send me an email. I'd be happy to come down on a weekend to show you around, even though we're closed. I'd love to do it. I'm always learning, and that's a big component of club world. The education that I have learned and seen through the national chapter, so the chapter here locally, and then the nationwide, it's just phenomenal. So there's a great portal there for learning. Ritz-Carlton were the same, but it was a bit too much. Here in the club world, it's perfect. It's just the right amount. Love working with people in the same passion, and then getting to wow people. That to me is just going over and above and beyond to wow people. Just doing the small little thing. Be it now with the curbside carryouts that we're doing, finding out it's somebody's anniversary, getting a bunch of flowers like we did last Friday. That's the wow factor. And you know, I learned that through Ritz-Carlton in Sydney when I lived there. And that's a big component of me and the club here. And I find that it's the same throughout all the clubs that I visited, that you leave something going, wow, that was amazing, amazing club. And then finally, working through difficult situations. I put this in long before COVID-19 ever happened. And we are all working through a difficult situation right now through the pandemic. And even as well with the protesters that we're seeing on the news, Washington, D.C. certainly has its fair share. So we're all working together. We're always in communication through my general manager, Michael Redmond, our chief engineer, our staff. So it's always great to be able to work through difficult situations. And another component advantage to Club World is that it's a small family. And again, like Carolyn said and Margaux, we can always reach out to each other and say, hey, what do you do in this situation? What's your club doing? So that's fantastic. Next slide, please, Margaux. So the main roles as an assistant general manager here at the Metropolitan Club is supervise all aspects of food and beverage operation. We do approximately $5.4 million in food and beverage. Now remember, we're in the dues business. The food and beverage is an amenity. And it took me a long time, the last 2 years, to figure that out. In the hotel business and the private independent restaurants, you're there to make as much money as quick as possible. Here, it's very different. It took me a while to figure out, well, we're only charging what for crab cakes? So you had to get used to that. You're only charging this for wine. So supervising all aspects of the operation, that was a big learning curve for me. Includes cost, quality and cost control. Every day, you know, I would recommend when you get your club, when you start working there, even if you're just starting as a supervisor role or as a small role, building your way up the ladder, taste the soup, go into the kitchen, don't be afraid, because that's quality control. I wasn't a chef, but in part of my hotel management, I was an intern chef for 2 years, and I learned that one from our head chef. Always taste the food. Ensure service that meets club establishment standards. We have high standards here at the Met Club, very, very high standards. I oversee the health and athletic department, which at first, again, what's the health and athletic? It's a gym, fitness center, 2 squash courts, swimming pool, cardio and weight room, a locker room on its own, for a separate locker room for men, obviously, and one for women. Serve food and beverage in there, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I also supervise the front door team. That department falls under my category. So we have 3 doormen. It's the first impressions last, last impressions last. You know, it's the first and last person the member or their guest will see. So how they're treated will have a long-lasting memory. Barbershop, we have 2 full-time barbers and a full-time shoe shine gentleman that operate Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Such a small little department, but it has so many opportunities, good and bad. People drop off shoes all the time and sometimes they get lost or they get forgotten about. That's an opportunity where you have to grow on and to fix. Housekeeping, we have 10 overnight bedrooms, a little smaller compared to other clubs. They're all located on the 3rd floor. We have a great housekeeping department. Angie is our housekeeping director from Trinidad. A big bubbly personality, so that's a very good department. Housekeeping also keeps the linens on the tables behind us. They keep them fresh and looking well, doing all the public spaces, the restrooms. So they're going to have a big challenge now when they come back to keep members and guests safe, hygienically and sanitation, all that stuff. So that's going to be an interesting workaround. So we interact with all our team members, with all the departments to facilitate, you know, smooth operation. Every Tuesday we have an F&B meeting from 2 to 3 or maybe 2 to 4. That's a great way to sit around a boardroom table to figure out what's going on in your department, what's giving you trouble, what's exciting you. You know, it's kind of like what makes you happy, what makes you unhappy. That's a good opportunity for them. And then I work closely with the general manager, Michael Redmond, who I will talk about in a few minutes, who is a phenomenal leader. Some of you already may have met him or know him. He has been at the club here for 14 years, but prior to that, he's been in the club business most of his life. Next slide, please, Sandy. So my day-to-day duties, when I come in the morning around, you know, between 9 and 10, I walk the entire clubhouse. I've learned not to do it in the same way because people I've seen staff know that I'm starting the 5th and working my way down, so I kind of chop and change it a bit. It's a learning curve for me. I ensure that all the day's events are in order and that things are running smoothly. Check in with the banqueting manager, the beverage manager, catering as well. Work closely with the chef on menu planning. That's always evolving. We also make sure that we have up-to-date menus. Although our clubhouse, if you change something on our menu, be ready for some conflict for the members because they love the crab merlin, they love the crab cakes. So if you come in here thinking you're going to change the whole menu, you better be ready. Conduct the weekly food and beverage meetings, like I just said. That's a great opportunity to check in with the managers. And then spend time on the floor. I have an Outlook calendar set up on my phone that from 11:55 every day to 1:30, I'm on the floor, regardless. I don't care what's going on in the office, I'm on the floor. And it's a Google reminder every day. And then you work closely with the committees. There's 23 committees here at the club. I sit on the house, special events, wine, health and athletic, younger members. And I've kind of been dragged into a few more recently, which is great because you're getting to learn what's going on in all these committees. After this call, we have a library committee this afternoon. It's good to check in with them, show your face and see what's happening in their world. So they're very important to the functions and what's going on in the club world. So committees were a new thing to me as well because I'd never done much committee work. In hotels and restaurants, we don't have that. Next slide, please, Margaux. So my team, Director of Catering, Melanie Blasset, who's been here for 6 years, and I believe she worked at the Cosmos Club many years ago, and she left and went to a few other clubs, and she's been here 6 years. Recently took over Director of Catering after Lily Van Gilder retired. For 18 years she was here. So Melanie was ready for the big move up and she's doing phenomenal so far. And we have great hopes for that. Banqueting manager Luis, he's been here 20 years, I think. Beverage manager Elias from Ethiopia, he's been here 18, 19 years. Chef Vincent Horville from France, he's 14th year. Health and athletic director Tony Saunders, I think 25 years. Housekeeping manager, relatively new, 3 years. And then maitre d' Alessandra Monzi is 9 years. So my point in telling you all the tenure times is we represent about 130 countries. And I don't know the exact number, how many years, but it's a long time. We have one server in our grill room, Mr. Wiggins, who has been here for 55 years as a server. 55 years. So we only hire about 12 staff a year, roughly. We have low turnaround, low turnover, which is great. And that should tell you a testament of what this club is like and how this club treats the staff and how the members treat the staff. It's just phenomenal. When I started here after my first month, members were coming up to me saying, "Are you doing okay? Are you happy? Is everybody treating you okay?" I'm like, "What? Where in the world would you hear this?" So I thought that was really special that members were coming up to me, introducing themselves. You know, because I took over from an Englishman, Ben Hales, who'd been here for 5 years, and he is now the general manager of Baltimore City Club. So he's doing very well there. So it's just amazing how the opportunity happens. So some people have often asked me, how did I end up working at the Metropolitan Club? So Michael Redmond and I met about 10 years ago, where I was a manager of a restaurant in the town I live in Virginia. And he was a customer, and I knew he was in the hospitality industry, so I always wanted to shine and show him that I care and I'm passionate and I, you know, love my job, and it's all I've ever done. So over the years, we've become friends, and he was a customer always. And then out of the blue, he called me up. I don't know how he got my cell phone number. He called me and he said, "Hey, Emmett, this is Michael Redmond. Wanted to know if you'd be interested in talking about a job at the Metropolitan Club." Now, I'd been down in this neighborhood many times doing the Irish tours of Washington, D.C. with family and friends in the White House. And I always saw the building outside. Oh, that's where Michael Redmond works. I wonder what it's like in there. I knew of it, but I never knew exactly what happened inside. Beautiful building outside. So Margaux, if you want to move to the next slide, please. So I'll get back to Michael Redmond in a second. So the history of the club, established in 1863. So we're coming into our 157th year. Started by 6 officials from the Treasury Department who sought sanctuary from private social gatherings so close to the White House. So from its beginnings, the members played an influential role in our nation's history. We've had 6 sitting presidents be members here, 21 secretaries of state, 21 secretaries of the Treasury, and 27 secretaries of the Navy. So it's funny, before COVID started, 2 of the secretaries of the Navy were in the clubhouse the same day, and they were having one younger and one in his 90s. And they were just having a great chat. It was just great to see that there's a bit of history there. You know, there's one taking over from the other, and it was nice to see that. Next slide, Margaux. So today, the Metropolitan Club membership comprises about 2,500 members. That's broken up into resident, about 1,600, and then non-resident and diplomatic. We have a lot of ambassadors that are members here. So 7% of that 2,500, I'm happy to say, is now female. Before, we were a male-only gentlemen's club, and then I think back in the 90s that changed. So it's great to see that the numbers are growing. So we do have female representation here, which is fantastic. So we have, through a board of governors, every November we have a new president. Currently it is Ambassador Stuart Holliday. He is a former ambassador to the United Nations. Great club president. So he's my 2nd club president since I started here. So through his guidance and the executive chair, Mr. Campbell, we have great guidance from them and the board of governors. Next slide, please, Mark. So this is kind of give you an idea. This is a picture of the founders in 1863. And then to the right, there's a clubhouse picture from 1885. We're on the corner of 17th and H. The clubhouse looks very different today because that picture you see there in 1904, that building caught fire. I can't remember how, but it burnt down. And the story goes that they weren't really worried about the building. They were more worried about the books in the library. So instead of coming in with buckets of water, they were coming in, taking out the books, which you'll see the library in a few minutes. The next slide, please, Margaux. That's the clubhouse, 1908. That's what it looks like today. So a little different on either side of it, but to give you an idea what it looks like. So I'm on the 4th floor right now, looking on, pretty much on the corner there, 17th and H. Next slide, please, Margaux. This is the club in 1960s. You can see the difference between the buildings around it. So it's changed again since. Next slide, please, Margaux. So we have about 90,000 square feet total. Now we bought property like Cosmos Club, bought property in our neighboring buildings left and right of us. So the main clubhouse that we're in right now is about 60,000 square feet, 65,000 square feet. Again, we do 5.4 million in food and beverage. We do a lot of banquets, club events, private events. That's where we really kind of make our money, is in the private events. The picture on the left is the Anderson Room. It's on the second floor. Most of our event space is on the second floor. The picture on the right is the Founders Room, which is here on the fourth. It's our largest room on the fourth floor can, hold about 60 people for dinner, 100 people for a cocktail reception. The Anderson Room about the same, which is a very elegant room, very different. You can see in the style. Next slide, please, Margaux. This is our Red Lounge. So it's double-sided. Obviously, I'm going to give you a view of one side, but this is our largest banquet room. We do weddings in here for about 250 people. Now that's including a part of the foyer as well. So very popular room for club functions and private parties. We are closed on the weekends. We are a Monday through Friday operation. However, we will open the clubhouse on a Saturday or Sunday for a fee, which is quite large. It's a $5,000, what we call a labor fee. That's just to bring the staff in, just to reopen the clubhouse. And we do about 6 or 8 weddings a year. And then if maybe the same in private functions on the weekends, but mainly it's a Monday through Friday operation. This is the Red Lounge. Next slide, please, Margaux. Our library. We are very proud to have, it's twice the size of this. It's about 20,000 books. It's like a library that you'd have in your hometown or a college there. You can check a book in and out for up to 4 weeks. We have a full-time librarian and an assistant. Even though we're closed on the weekends, we have somebody at the front desk that can, the members can come in through the biometric system, and they can go into the library and access a book and just the honor system. So in the middle of the table, you can't really see it. Actually, I don't think it's there right now. There's an ongoing chess game between us and the Royal Automobile Club in London. And the chess pieces are moved over the phone. It hasn't happened in a while, but it does happen. We have members that go in there. One member in particular that goes in there every day after lunch. He'll read a chapter or two, take a quick nap, go back to work. So it's a great place to be able to have some peace and quiet. The other thing is, well, we have a very strict electronic policy. No cell phones, no laptops at all, no passing of papers. If you wish to do that, we have a correspondence lounge just off of the main lobby. That's where you can go take a text or a call or pass papers or do any of that documentation. Now, if you're in a private room, the doors are closed, you can do that electronic use altogether. The other thing, we're a strict coat and tie policy at all times. We do have coats and ties for those men that forget theirs or guests who have not been informed of our policy. So it's very steeped in tradition that way, which is great. It took me a while to get used to that too, but now I love it. I think it's the best thing ever. No electronics, no cell phones. So I'm going back to Michael Redmond. I wanted to kind of give you an idea of the networking and how it worked for me. So Michael called me and asked me would I come down here to see him. So I did. And I was working in Tyson's Corner, not too far, but 10 miles from Washington, D.C. at the Ritz-Carlton. And I was like, well, I'm already coming into D.C. Why wouldn't I consider this job? So I interviewed, I think there was 6 other people or 5 other people ahead of me, and I was successful. Now, maybe I got a leg up because I had a network, I had a friendship and hospitality connection through Michael, and it really did help me. So I've been here 2 years now, and he's a phenomenal general manager. He's a phenomenal educator. So I would highly recommend those of you that are on this call that are stepping out into the club world for the first time, that connections are everything. I was on a recent mid-managers CMA thing last Thursday or Friday, and they were talking about LinkedIn and how powerful it is. So really, really is powerful. This clubhouse is it's phenomenal. It's very different to a hotel and restaurant. So again, anytime you're in town, you want to come by, just let me know. I'll be happy to show you around. I think that's my last slide, Margaux. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I think so. I want to go back to the chessboard that you referenced, because when I came to Metropolitan for the first time guess it was now a couple months ago.
Yeah.
The chess board that currently lives on this table and is played was made by the engineer that is currently the engineer at Sulgrave Club. So talk about kind of intermingling of clubs and how connected everybody is. When he worked at Metropolitan Club, built the chessboard, and now he's our chief engineer at Sulgrave. So that was kind of a funny connection.
Thank you for telling me that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
World in clubs for sure.
Any questions for Emmett? I didn't see any come through specifically, but I'll go ahead and track, and then we'll open up again at the end if anybody has
questions. Thank you, Margaux.
Thank you, Emmett. Very good storytelling. Oh, one question might have come in. Let me see. We do have a question here for you, Emmett. You've moved a lot during your journey. Do you have any advice on moving to a new club and how to make the best first impression? Great question.
So yeah, that is a great question. Thank you for that. So that Amanda? Yes, thank you, Amanda. So I have moved a lot, but you know, I worked in Irish pubs for a long time when I came to America, you know, and that really opened up my eyes to hospitality in America. And I would suggest do it all. But Ritz-Carlton is fantastic, and may have all been there or dreamed to go there for dinner one night, and it's all what you think it is. But again, connections. It's all about your network. And you want to make the right move to give the first impression. You know, don't rush into it. Look for a mentor. Ask your mentor about the club that you're thinking about applying for. I was worried when I was moving that my resume would reflect a lot of chopping and changing, but you haven't seen my full resume because I co-owned an Irish pub for about 9 years. Myself and another Irish guy opened it up. And it was great. It's since closed, but it gave me a great learning curve of how to operate a restaurant, how to deal with drunks at nighttime, how to, you know, get a financial statement. So it was a great learning curve. And then I wanted to go back to the hotel business because that was my passion. So what really drew me to the Metropolitan Club was in the independent restaurants and the hotels, you may not see that same guest again. Whereas at a club, you will, because you're going to build a bond and a relationship. You will have to run into that same member, whether you like it or not, you're going to run into that member. So it is very important to pick the club that you feel comfortable and you can shine in. I hope that helps Amanda with her question.
Awesome. All right. Oops. Oh, one more might have come in. She said, Amanda says thank you.
Okay, thank you, Amanda.
Awesome. So we're going to move into Sulgrave Club now, and purposefully Sulgrave is going to come after Metropolitan, and I'll talk a little bit about how we are indirectly, directly connected as clubs. So as I mentioned, I'm Margaux Beuscher, the clubhouse manager at Sulgrave Club. I did my first 3 semesters at the University of South Carolina, and then transferred and graduated from UMass Amherst with a business degree concentration in hospitality. I knew I wanted to do hospitality when I went to school. It only applied to schools that had a hospitality program, but I didn't know about clubs. I didn't know where I was going to end up. So my favorite story to tell is how I ended up here. And there was a panel of a restaurant manager, a hotel manager, and a club manager at UMass, and it was open to the students, and they each shared about their benefits and their perks and what was great about one and not the other. And I stayed after to say thank you to the panelists, and the club manager happened to stay behind, and he was a UMass grad. And we talked for a quick minute, and he said, do you want to come and work on Nantucket for the summer? And I, being from Massachusetts, knew about Nantucket and kind of said, yes. You know, that's not a hard sell for I guess I was 20 at the time. And so went and lived and spent my summer on Nantucket working at the Westmore Club. Brent Tartamella was the general manager. It was a new club that had, I think my first year there, it was only in its 7th season, and had an amazing experience. Nantucket is Disneyland for adults, and just couldn't believe the experience that I had. Went back to school for what was then my senior year, and decide to go back to Westmore Club for another summer. And so for those of you that are graduating, it might be a little late to give this advice, but I think that my advice that I've always given is that when you graduate, you don't have to have your forever job. It can be another internship. It can be another temporary summer position, because I also think that that gets you into a different candidate pool. If you're all applying for jobs at the same time, you're kind of one in a number, whereas I got myself out of a candidate pool and ended up in this fall candidate pool that maybe not as many people were in. And the interesting thing about Nantucket is that it's very seasonal. And so if you go and work there in the summer, there's not really a winter season unless you get a full-time job. So a lot of the clubs down in Florida come up and do recruiting for their employees for then the winter months. And so a couple of clubs had come up, and I took the opportunity to sit down and meet with them and interview, and ended up getting a position at Johns Island Club in Vero Beach, Florida, which is located halfway between Orlando and West Palm. So here I am, my first year out of college and moving to Florida after living my summer on Nantucket. Like, that's not real life. But just kind of, and then it just kind of steamrolled from there. It just kind of made sense for me to do that. So I went and spent my winter in Florida, and I would spend my summers in Nantucket. And that's just not, it's not real life, but they were both amazing clubs. A lot of the same members at both clubs. So I would see them in the winter and I'd see them in the summer, and I'd celebrate holidays and milestones in their family with them. So I did that back and forth for a couple of years after school, spend summers in Nantucket and winters in Florida. Again, you get to meet so many different people. You meet a lot of internationals, you meet a lot of different members, and that experience was something, I think it's not advertised maybe to students, it's advertised to the visa programs and to the internationals, but it was, again, just not something you get to do. But I kind of had spent enough time in Florida, really felt like that was not where I wanted to spend the rest of my life. And so started to look for some clubs up on the East Coast of kind of what was next in my career. There wasn't really a career advancement opportunity for me at Johns Island. So I ended up applying for the banquet manager position at Chevy Chase Club. I had no banquet manager experience. So going back to that first general manager at the Westmore Club, he had previously worked at Chevy Chase Club, and he vouched for me and told Mr. Boyle, Luke Boyle, the general manager of Chevy Chase Club, kind of, he stuck his neck out and said, "You should hire this girl." And Mr. Boyle's kind of looking at this guy like, she has no banquet experience. Why would I move her, up the East Coast to come and work for me? And he said, "No, trust me, she'll make it work." So I think everybody kind of took a risk. I never came up and saw the club. I never came to the area. I was getting married 6 months after we moved up here, but talk about coming and moving and making first impressions, it never really scared me. If it was the right thing, it was meant to be, and it was supposed to happen. So moved up here, worked as a banquet manager at Chevy Chase Club, and then moved up to, I like to call it my made up position. It was a clubhouse service director was the title. And I oversaw the pool, the banquet, and then the dining room in the building, or in the main clubhouse. From there, I kind of was looking for what was next and was kind of interviewing kind of around the country in different places. I think I basically interviewed for Sulgrave Club for about a year and a half. I talked to them on and off, the general manager here, Bob St. Francis. I will give a shout out to his son, Trey, who's on the call today, who I haven't met in person, but brownie points to you for joining the call today. But I kind of had interviewed or talked to him on and off for about a year, and then finally it just was the right time. And so joined here in November. So I've only been at Sulgrave since November, and we've been closed since March, the doors technically. So it's been an interesting couple of months since I've been here. But so far I love it. The great thing is that there's members that I knew back at Westmore Club that are members at Sulgrave, or members that were at Johns Island that are Sulgrave. And then of course there's tons of crossover, as I'll talk about in a little bit, with Chevy and Sulgrave. So I've reconnected with a lot of the same people over the years. It looks like we're gonna go over on time. I was just checking the time to see where we're at. So if anybody does have anything else, I'll try and get through this. But if you need to get off, I understand. So Sulgrave Club, I mentioned, is connected to Metropolitan. I kind of say it's, there's this triangle of the gentlemen traditionally were members at Metropolitan, and the ladies were kind of members at Sulgrave. And then as a family, they joined at Chevy Chase Club. So I think 60% of members at Metropolitan are Chevy members, and I think it's somewhere close to there between Sulgrave, Metropolitan, and Chevy. So it's very interconnected. And when we talk about sharing, our club can't send something out without it getting to Emmett, or Emmett's club sending something that doesn't get to me, or vice versa. So we're all quite intertwined when it comes to getting crossing over. Oops. All right, so this is the outside of the building. We are located right in DuPont Circle of Washington, D.C. The picture on the bottom right shows you the building's kind of a triangle with two sides of it having these round rooms, which when it was built back in the late 1800s, that was kind of really rare to have. The front door you can see, and I'll show you through the entrance, actually was where the horse and buggy used to drive through the house. And I'll show you a little bit more of that. So we were a women's club founded in 1932 by Mabel Boardman. And it was founded by an organized group of socially predominant women. The name Sulgrave Club comes from in honor of George Washington's ancestral home, the Sulgrave Manor. The year the club was founded in 1932 was also the bicentennial celebration of George Washington's birthday. So that's how we kind of ended up with the name Sulgrave Club. We talk about the club as being a house. The building very much feels like a house. It was Martha and Herbert Wadsworth's home. They lived in upstate New York, and then during the political season, Martha's father was very involved in the politics in the city. So during the political season, they would come down and stay at this house during that season and host parties and socialites. So this was their home that Martha Wadsworth actually built. She was listed officially as one of the architects of the house. So my title, typically you'd see clubhouse written as one word, but I am the club's house. It's very much a home, and that was a weird kind of, I asked when I took the position, why is it separated as two words? But because the club's home is kind of this connection of, we talk about the home and kind of if the walls could talk there. If you look on the bottom right, that back right corner where the square, that was where the staff quarters were. So the whole house was only built for Martha and Herbert. And then they had a team of staff that would come and travel down with them as well. But they had no children, and there wasn't anybody else that lived in the home with them. But they did have, I don't know exactly how many were on their staff, but the staff had their own kind of separate quarters that now is what we kind of use as our back of the house area. So this is the front entrance. So in all of the sides that we go through, in the top left corner will be what the house used to look like, which I think is really kind of cool to see what it started as and kind of what it is now. So this is the front entrance and the front door. This is where I'm quote unquote sitting right now in my virtual background. But this is where that elevator straight ahead in the bottom left corner didn't exist, and the horse and buggy would literally pull right through there. Everybody would get out of the car or out of the vehicle, and as the horse and buggy couldn't back up, they would continue to drive through it. So now it's enclosed and has become our front lobby and front entrance with like hotel guest room check-in. This is our Terrace Bar. So on the left, you can see what the Terrace Bar used to look like. And then the bottom right is what we currently have it set up as. This room is used for traditional tea service, which we offer upon reservation. They can do that any day of the week, traditionally in the springtime a lot for maybe a small bridal shower or gathering. And then we'll also do them around Christmas time. We do quite a few teas. This is also kind of our cocktail area for before dinner. There isn't actually a physical bar that you kind of would belly yourself up to. So this is kind of where our bartender, John, will kind of come around and take orders, and then there's the fireplace. So our dining room is open 7 days a week. We do require in the club, as Metropolitan Club does, coat and tie required at all times. The only time we relax that is breakfast, because I'll get into, we have overnight rooms. And so gentlemen don't have to wear a tie at breakfast, but we do ask that they wear a jacket during breakfast. So breakfast is 7 days a week because of the overnight guest rooms. Dinner is only Monday through Saturday. So we don't have lunch on Saturday and we don't have dinner on Sunday. So working here, those are we try to keep those times, especially the Sunday night when all of our staff is off and everybody can be home kind of, with their family, and the membership appreciates that as well. That we get to spend time with our family. They find that the value in that. We're also closed at Christmas for 3 days, New Year's for 3 days, and then we're closed in the summer for 10 weeks to work on projects and updating any construction that needs to be done. And then this is the round dining room. Top left is what it used to look like, and then bottom right, some larger tables in here. And then the Boardman dining room. There used to be a spiral staircase that would go from upstairs down to this Boardman dining room. And there's a door over on the right, tucked on the right. That was a kind of a nookie closet back when Martha Wadsworth used to have people or parties at the house. People knew about the spiral staircase and they could sneak into this little area and make bad decisions. The withdrawing room. So the withdrawing room, I don't have what it used to look like, but it's right off of the main entrance, and it's actually where the cars and kind of the garage used to be part of the house now. And it's called the withdrawing room because it's literally where you would theoretically withdraw after dinner and do an after dinner cocktail. The wallpaper in here and kind of the decor in this room sets up a lot of our kind of branding and styling for the club itself. That color is kind of one of our signature colors. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Going back to our dining room, we don't really have a lot of the amenities that Cosmos and Metropolitan Club have. We have a library, but it's nothing to kind of speak about. We got rid of our fitness center a couple years ago for, wasn't really necessary or being used. So our culinary program is really our shining spotlight when it comes to Sulgrave Club, and we're doing our takeout program right now with things being closed. And chef garnishes and puts accoutrements in the takeout container. So really our food program and our dining room is really what drives the club for the most part right now. So that was the first floor. That was everything you saw on the first floor. Moving up onto the second floor, this is the Great Hall. So on the left is what it used to look like. And that is the Wadsworth's dog, who would travel back and forth with him, big old St. Bernard. You can tell how big he is based on kind of what it looks like now and kind of a spacing. But now it's kind of our gathering area, our reception area, cocktails before a party or a function. This whole second floor is really where we do any of our banquets. The project that was supposed to be done this summer, but based on everything going on, is we're going to be redoing all the wall coverings and the flooring on this second floor, picking out fabric and redoing some of the furniture. So that will be postponed to next year, hopefully. But that's our next major kind of club project that we'll be working on. Martha Wadsworth, there's some great stories about her that exist out in the world. And she was a little eccentric, a little rebellious. And when they came into town for the political season, she would send an invite out to her friends. And it was a standing event, and it said Thursday evenings until Lent at 10 o'clock. And so she had every Thursday night at 10 o'clock, anybody was invited, not anybody, her group of people were invited to the house to entertain. And so these were some of the entertainment spaces, and I'll show you the ballroom as well that she was in. This was their dining room. The bottom picture on the bottom left, or bottom doesn't show it, but to the left, there's a mirror there now, which is what that fireplace is that you see above. I think one of my fun facts about it, and I don't know why they covered it up with a mirror, probably because it didn't work, but the fireplace is at that height. You can see it's kind of halfway up the wall. So if you were sitting at the dinner table, and this was the Wadsworth dining room, everybody had a view of the fireplace. So I don't know why that, maybe for safety reasons, I don't know why that hasn't existed maybe in modern architecture, but I just think that's a really neat feature, that was something, that attention to detail was something that she put into designing the room and designing the house. Now it's just kind of a small function space. We can do smaller dinners, about 40 people in that room. The drawing room, probably one of our most popular rooms. So that it's a circular room and it faces DuPont Circle. You can't really quite fully see into the DuPont Circle because of some of the trees and such. And the fireplace unfortunately doesn't work any longer, but it's bright room, very airy, a lot of lecturers will do their lunches in there, teas, bridal showers, baby showers. It kind of lends itself to that room. And then this is the ballroom. So a fun fact about the ballroom is Martha Wadsworth used to take jujitsu. She was actually very accomplished in jujitsu. And so she's been known to do classes of jujitsu in the ballroom. But on the top left, you can see there's that balcony. That's where the orchestra, when they would have music, the orchestra would play up there and then everybody would dance below. On the bottom right is a current picture of that ballroom space. And we can do some smaller weddings and parties in there. Lectures. Live music was one of the foundations for the club, and so they did a lot of music in this space. So that's the second floor, kind of all the event spaces. And then going up to the third floor, we do have 7 overnight guest rooms. We've had more over the years and kind of, for various reasons, slowly taken them away. It's not a huge driver for the club, but it's just an amenity and something we are offering. So there's 2 rooms that are round to kind of match the building. So this is 302. A lot of times our brides will be put in this room or that suite at night. And then 304, this room is interesting because it's twin beds, which you probably wouldn't see most days. And there's another room attached that has a twin bed. The membership believes that women travel together and might do girl outings together. And so it would be the 3 ladies that each have their own bed, group of sisters, mom and daughters could all come and travel. So who is a Sulgrave Club member? So we have about 1,200 members, about 800 are resident, 400 non-resident. Our average age is 62, but that's actually going down. We're seeing a decrease in that trend. Dues are about $3,000 annually. A member at the Sulgrave Club, that's typically not the only club that they're a member of. We are one of maybe 4, even 5 of their clubs that they're a member of, maybe as a husband, as a family, you know, a Nantucket club, a Florida club. So they traditionally are not just a member at our club. There's a lot of legacy and family, a lot of mothers that then their daughters join as well. And then we also have about 70 international reciprocal clubs. You can join Sulgrave and you get access and permission to some of these other 70 clubs around the world. None of them are technically, or none of them are really in this DC area, but kind of around the country and world. So why do they join Sulgrave? This is a quote I actually took from our current president. We just did our annual meeting virtually. And this was a quote that she had shared. So Sulgrave Club was founded by women for women to serve as an oasis for members and their guests, allowing them social interactions while enjoying literary, musical, artistic, and thought-provoking programs. So the old traditional woman that joined the club, their husband was working and they wanted something to do to stay active. We did have, the Red Cross was involved at the club for a while. Now it's a successful career businesswoman looking to connect with others, looking for a culinary program, looking for lectures, looking to network with other women kind of in the area. And then I know a couple questions came in. One fun fact, I don't have a picture of it, but we actually have bees on our roof that are Sulgrave honeys. And so we're in the process of getting those going again.
Awesome. Thank you, Margaux. You had one question come in when you were on the first floor about the name and purpose of the room with the grand fireplace. Can you talk a little bit more about that room?
Yeah, so that would have been the terrace room or the Terrace Bar. So that's where they come to grab a cocktail probably before dinner, or they do tea, especially in the winter, kind of sitting in front of the fireplace. I was trying to think if there was any other question, anything else that I want to touch on. I think there's amazing stories at the club. I wish the walls could talk because I can only imagine what happened with Martha and Herbert Wadsworth.
Awesome. We have another one that came through about how you were able to build a healthy work-life balance when you were moving between 2 different locations during their peak seasons early on in your career. That's a great question.
Yeah, so I think because it was early on, I probably had the energy to still go from like peak season to peak season. I was kind of crazy and probably never took more than a week in between. But I think those sacrifices kind of got me to build up where I am now. It's also how I met my husband. So he was doing this with me. We met at the Westmore Club, and we weren't married at the time, we were dating. And so he did the seasons with me, and we would go north and south together. It's a great network of people that do it with you. So they are working the crazy summer season with you and then going down and doing the crazy winter season with you. So it's a lot of understanding. And there's peaks too. In the Florida in the winter, you get down there in about October, but the busy doesn't start until the end of December and maybe goes until May. So those first couple of months are slow. You're also in these places that don't feel like work. So, you know, on your day off on Nantucket, you're going to the beach, you're going sailing, you're going to an amazing restaurant. Your day off in Florida, you're maybe going to Disney World or something. But I definitely probably had more energy back then than I do now to be able to do those seasons back to back. There's a reason I'm at a city club right now, just because I think I went a little hard in the beginning. But something I don't think it's a popular thing to do, but I think was one of the most rewarding career things I did.
I have to give you a lot of kudos, Margaux. I think that it's awesome, and I encourage all the students on this call to take some leaps of faith, you know, especially when you're getting your career started. Go somewhere different that you've never experienced before. I actually did the opposite. I was looking all over the United States and abroad when I initially graduated, but I told myself if I took a club job close to home, I would not be surprised if I stayed close to home. I'm born and raised right outside of Washington, D.C., and I'm still here. And obviously that comes with a lot of other wonderful perks, but you always look at the other side, right? And Margaux's a great testament, and Emmett, obviously coming from his background. I was going to mention, even without this question, that we all come from such different backgrounds, and we've all touched on the fact that we want to be here as resources for you. Not only the 3 of us, but the Student Development Committee as a whole. And so please, we have all of our contact information up. We encourage you to reach out to us, ask us more. You know, we had a very short period of time to talk to you about our 3 clubs today, but the conversation doesn't have to end here. We're here for you not only for your internships this summer or next summer, but throughout your career. That's what it's all about. And finding a mentor and building these connections has kind of been a theme here in this discussion and many others through CMAA and probably your classes. So reach out to us. We're all willing to do things to help you and to build you as professionals. And hopefully we'll see you in the club business for years to come.
Yeah, I think doing the moves early on, and Emmett could probably test this too, before you have a family or before you're having anything tie you down, that was the best thing for me to do. I do want to go to the next slide because some of you I know are graduating or trying to find jobs. There are some jobs open in this area that I think we would definitely consider. I think internships are a little bit more challenging right now, as I know a lot of the clubs are maybe putting those on pause. But for anybody looking, Steve Lawson is looking for a director of food and beverage and also a range manager. That's kind of their halfway house at Washington Golf and Country Club. Sulgrave, we're actually looking for a dining room manager and a catering and membership manager. So if you think you are a good candidate for either of those or know anybody, you're welcome to share that information with them. Bretton Woods is also looking for a pool manager, that meaning like a pool snack bar manager. And Woodmont, I believe, is still looking for their membership director. So if you're interested just being in the area, that it's, you know, Carolyn worked at Chevy, I worked at Chevy, we've all worked at some of the different clubs and stayed within this area and this chapter. If you just want to move to this area and you're interested, there's tons of clubs that have positions available. So just let us know. We can help connect you.
Margaux, there was a question for you about whether you keep in touch with other managers from all women private clubs. How does that network work specifically?
There's a couple of city club, there's city club specific, and then there's also women's club. Bob St. Francis, our general manager, is more involved with those groups, but they had a call last week to discuss what are some of the different challenges they're all going through, and what are the different pathways that they're taking. So there is a network of women clubs, women clubs. I don't know. English is not happening right now. So yes, there is a network of that. I saw Madison, good to see your name. For young professionals starting to find a way in the club world, do any of you have any advice on how to find a club culture that fits us? Yes.
Emmett, do you want to take that one?
I went to my first conference this past February down in Dallas, and I found that a very useful way to look up who could be going with managers, and then reach out to them beforehand and say, hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time? I want to learn more about your club. Again, going back to mentorship, just reach out, just be bold and ask somebody, like, what's the culture like in your club? Does it fit us? You won't find many reviews online of clubs, and Glassdoor, I don't think does that, but it's just literally asking, ask me or Margaux or Carolyn on this, what do you think of XYZ club? We'll give you our honest opinion, but again, it's all about networking.
I think the amazing thing is sometimes people are caught up by the reputation of the club based on what maybe they've learned in school. So I don't know, Congressional Country Club, Chetty, some of these big names, and you get wrapped up in trying to work for the club that has a name that you recognize, as opposed to finding the club that works for you. For anybody that I think of it as like sorority recruitment. For anybody that went through, there's a process where you both have to agree that this is mutually beneficial for both of you. So just because the name or the title, or I think that the position title, I think a lot of people are afraid to graduate and not have a manager in their title when they're starting their new career. But I think it's more important to find what's best for you, because you're not going to be happy if you take something that doesn't feel right. There's this gut check of, did I have a good connection with them? Did I have a good conversation with them? Did this feel natural? Did I enjoy walking to the club? If you want to dye your hair pink, if you prefer to wear nail polish, if you don't consider yourself a traditional person, don't go looking at a traditional club, because the club is going to try and make you something that you are not. So you have to know who you are as an individual and what you are looking for, and then finding a club that kind of matches that. That's going to be the marriage that you want. It's kind of, dating. And so definitely kind of take that into consideration when you're looking at the club. Make sure it's mutually beneficial for both you and the club at the end of the day, and ask as many questions. Go, ask other people in the area, what do you think of this club? What's your thought on this? Other people that work there. You're not always maybe going to get the true story, because they just want you to come and work because they need the help maybe. But I think that's really important, to know who you are first and find a club that matches some of your core values or some of the things that are important in your life. If family is important to you, working in a family club where there's kids running around on Easter is probably going to be something that fits you better than a club that's, not anti-family, but not as interested or passionate or has family as a component of it.
Sure, and I mean, sorry, I mean, while you're in school, definitely reach out to different managers. Take internships in the next couple of years, because I found it really helpful to work at different country clubs in different areas of the club, casual dining, more formal dining on a more manager level, and then working in a city club. So I knew really where my passion was in city club. So it's good to get experience, even if you reach out to a manager and say, hey, I want to do like a week shadowing you over spring break. Small shadowing or tours or things of that nature are really going to help you make those decisions. And I would also encourage you to pick a place with a great leader. All three of us are really lucky. We have amazing general managers that we work with and for. And so we really encourage you to do that as well, is to look out for someone where they will take you under your wing and coach and train you and be there for you throughout your experience working at that club. So not only cultural fit, but also finding mentors and people that will assist you in your journey is also important when you're deciding on a job.
And I don't know if you want to touch on that one.
No, I just quickly lastly say is like when I interviewed for my job 2 years ago here, Michael Redmond had said to me, come down and kick the tires. And he said, I want you to feel can you work here? Will you be able to work here? Well, does it fit your family lifestyle? I've got 2 kids. And the appealing thing to me was I was off weekends. Coming from the hotel industry, I worked day and night every weekend. So kicking the tires was a great feeling when he said that to me. And I came down here on 4 different occasions. And, you know, I met a lot of the staff and it was just a feel-good feeling. So don't be afraid to ask for tours or, like Carolyn said, do a shadowing for a week or a day or whatever it is. You know, we don't typically take on many internships simply because we're very quiet in the summer. But in saying that, persuade me, talk me into it. You know, ask me, you know, say, hey, I think you should make me as an intern for summer. You know, we can easily be persuaded, but definitely go visiting clubs is the way to go, and talking to other people and just, you know, be persistent.
That definitely happens. My Columbia internship, they had already hired their 2 interns for the pool when we started talking, and they brought me on as a different type of intern working with their management team. So definitely encourage that.
I put the slide back up of our upcoming events. And so the interesting thing is that, yeah, we haven't, the programming we typically offer has been for the interns that work at our clubs in kind of our chapter. I think we're so fortunate and so glad that we get to do this virtually and get to open this up and share clubs with people that might not have been here previously or not even heard about some of these clubs in the past. So the rest of the events as they stand right now are first and foremost to try and do them in person. But if any of them do end up going to be virtual, we'll be sure to send them back out again to those that we sent all of this information to. Obviously, hoping to do in person. I think the only one, I think a really good one, if we could do, would be the 3 Cs tour. If that one isn't able to do in person and we had to do something virtually, I think that'd be a great one to kind of share back with everybody again. But I think this opens up a new door that I think the Student Development Committee might be looking into doing more year-round virtual events, as this is a new way of the world. So we'll be sure to share with our the different advisors and student chapters that we connected with this time, if we continue forward with some more kind of virtual events in the future. We'll keep everybody posted.
In the world we live in now, we definitely have to be flexible, and so Margaux and I will definitely be talking about what we can add or how we can change things to incorporate more of your students, because we loved having you today.
Yeah, I know we definitely went over. This was definitely planned, and good thing we didn't have university. We would have kicked Brian off. We would have had to kick him off. But I hope everybody enjoyed it. I know we weren't actually at the clubs, and by virtual, I hope nobody was turned off by the fact that it was just pictures and not us actually walking through our clubs. But let us know, keep sending us questions, all of our email addresses. Shoot us an email. We can connect you with other clubs in the area. Kate Scott, who's on the call, is our managing director. She can help connect you with any of the clubs in the area as well. And it's nccma.net is our website for our local chapter. So if there's anything else any of us can do, or you can't find information, let us know. Great to see some familiar faces or names coming through on the chat, and hope everybody's staying safe during these unusual times. Anybody else have anything to add?
No.
Feel free to unmute.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and unmute everybody and stop the recording, and just let us know if we can do anything in the future.
I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes if anybody wants to ask me a question.
Yeah, I'll unmute, and then if anybody wanted to stay on, you are welcome to.